We're going to do both our coordinators this week at the same time, but generally from week to week we'll alternate them. The Tuesday after, or the Monday after Louisville, one of them will come, and then the Monday before the Notre Dame. So you get a vote before the Notre Dame game. So basically they all alternate each Monday. So I guess we can just open it up for questions. If you got a question for both of them to answer, go ahead and say it that way. If you got one specifically for each coach, just address the coach.
All right, no questions.
All right, we'll see y'all.
I noticed that two tight end spots listed. Garrett Williams is one of them. What's going to be probably the formation involved in that?
Let me just jump in here. I did the depth chart with Coach Sweeney. We put two tight ends on there because there'll be some situations where we run a two tight end. So he felt that we needed to. He thought to give you guys a depth chart that didn't have Garrett Williams on it at all would not be right. So that's why there's two tight ends. But
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to run very similar sets that we have in the past, and we've done a good bit of stuff in the past with two tight ends, and so obviously there's a different depth chart when you just have one tight end and you're in more of an 11 personnel set, the guys that go in. When you bring that additional tight end in, sometimes he's more of a H-back or can be an on-the-line guy, and but I don't think there's any major changes there.
I just heard somebody say the way you guys have been working this year is that when you go out for coffee, he'll call the plays, and if he's got to run into the bathroom, he'll call it.
Well,
In the, I guess the walkthroughs you guys have had in working with that, you did summer of basketball. Have there been any glitches, any miscommunications? We knew that could happen.
in terms of just the relationship, no, because again, once we leave the meeting room, we're all on the same page. Now we'll discuss things, and again, Jeff is working with the wideouts and the quarterbacks, on a daily basis. I work with the offensive line and the backs, and so we each have our own perspective. But once we leave the meeting room, we're all on the same page. And just in terms of the working relationship, there is a distinction on game day, but throughout the course of the week, we're all working together. And even in the bowl game, Jeff had some recommendations, that were very successful in the bowl game. So we feel like anybody in the meeting room, including Brandon Streeter, Robbie Caldwell, and Danny Pearman, can call the plays, but you do have to have a distinction on game day. But we all work together. We're all on the same page, pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is that Tony and I have been together for 4 years on the headsets, and so it's really not a whole lot different than what maybe he and I would have done on game day in the past, other than Chad was there to make that final call. But there's certain times throughout the course of a game, throughout a certain series, certain place on the field where maybe recommendations come up. But Tony's got to be the one sitting up there looking down that's got to be able to make that call. But I think we've got a very good relationship. We know each other very well, and you know the right time. Then there's a lot of communication in between series as well, and we're looking at it as a benefit. Whenever you have one coordinator, he has to make a decision: am I going to be on the field? There's benefits to that, or am I going to be in the box? And so we're looking at it as, we've got two coordinators, one on the field who maybe can see some things that maybe if you're in the box you can't see, and then obviously there's a lot of advantages being in the box, being able to see everything. So I think it'll be a smooth transition for us.
Talk to us about the Wofford game. What you see in them defensively, did they pose any issues or any challenges that you think we're not seeing Wofford in defense?
Well, first and foremost, Wofford is going to be a very tough football team. They're going to be very disciplined. They're going to run their scheme. They're going to make you execute at a high level in order to beat them. The good thing is there's some carryover from what we saw with Oklahoma. Similar defensive structure. They're built to stop the run because they want to get more guys near the box than you can account for, and then they're going to make you beat them, throwing the football. So again, there's a lot of carryover, but they're going to be excited to play. They got a lot of guys coming back on defense that have seen a lot of time. They move their front, which, going against Coach V every day in practice helps us because you're going to see a lot of the moving, the slanting and angling, but they're going to be sound. They're doing a better job of disguising what they're doing on defense from Wofford teams in the past. So a lot of carryover, but again, our guys are going to have to go out and take care of the ball and execute at a high level.
Other than players changing, have there been any additional wrinkles or changes with the defense that you've seen on film from the last time you played them a few years ago?
There's a couple. I believe there was a coordinator change since the last time we played them in 2011. But, from my experience at Furman and watching these guys over the last several years, they're going to do what they do on defense, and they're going to make you be sound and make you take care of the ball and move the ball down the field to beat them. They got a couple little wrinkles, but not a whole lot of differences from what you've seen in 2011.
The co-offensive coordinator deals might be foreign to some folks around here, but there are plenty of others around the country out there that make you guys know anyone or talk to anyone over the summer that's in y'all's position just to kind of pick them, right?
Yeah, I think TCU had that situation last year, and there's been several that have done that. We personally haven't. I personally haven't reached out and talked to anyone in particular, and I think the reason is because we've been together for 4 years, and so from day one it wasn't like we had to kind of get used to it. It was very easy for us to do, and I think it's something Coach Sweeney came to us about, and we thought was a good idea, and we're excited about it, and obviously got a chance to do it. I think that was a big benefit, having an opportunity to do it in the bowl game, and already so this isn't the first game, going out doing it, and being able to talk after that game, things we like, things we can do differently, and all that kind of stuff, I think really helped. So, I think you'll probably see more of it here in the years to come, I believe.
Is it a perfect situation for you guys, though, offensively, having a guy like Deshaun who knows the offense as well as he does and can make the adjustments that even though you're sitting in the box and you're probably thinking a play or two ahead, you're on the sidelines and you've got the impact and the immediacy, but he's there and he can do it. He sees when he needs to see to make those calls.
Yeah, Deshaun is like a coach on the field. Not many quarterbacks, especially early in their career, have the ability to be able to do that. And he's great in the meeting room. Coach Streeter, and that's the other thing that you forget. You got Brandon Streeter, who's done a really good job, has been a coordinator, who's sitting in the room with him every day as they go through. So, and the way our offense is built, there's checks at certain times. It's very well defined when we need to change something. And Tony does a great job with the quarterbacks and the backs as far as whenever we see certain blitzes, being able to check and be able to get that relayed down to the field. But when your quarterback can do it on his own, it allows you to be a little bit faster and maybe does not give the defense time to check out of their defense. So I think that's something Deshaun did a little bit last year, and I think he'll be able to do even more this year.
How is it come to you guys 15 years ago with players and said, you're going to be working together one day and running the Clemson offense? Did you even imagine that at that time?
I'd say no, because my initial plan was to go to work as an engineer. When I graduated from school, coaching wasn't in my future. There were some things that happened along the way that opened some doors that got me into the profession. But if you would have told me that 15 years ago and said that Jeff was going to be the guy that I was going to be working with, I'd say, man, let's go do it because of that relationship. And again, it goes back to the relationship that we have. I think we got a lot of the same values outside of football, a lot of the same values inside of football. But at the end of the day, we're both Clemson Tigers, and we understand that it's about these young people in the program, and we just want to take pride in doing our best, working together to help these young men be successful. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's not about me, and Jeff will tell you the same. It's not about Jeff. It's about this offense, this university, and putting the best product on the field to be successful.
Any lingering concern about Stanton's that's sort of an issue early in camp.
Yeah, he just has to work through it. Obviously, he's coming back from a severe knee injury. It was an extensive surgery, but he's working every day. There's no question about his mentality. Like I told you before, he's a warrior. He's going to do everything he needs to do. You just got to be smart with it and continue to rehab it every day and make sure that we understand the load that we're putting on it and keeping track of that.
Do you intend to use as much of that 2 deep to re-deep in some positions in this game? Or I know the object was to respond in that regard? Where you're going to get all 10 linemen in, all the tight ends, receivers?
Well, I think Coach Sweeney's philosophy has always been that he wants to play the guys that deserve to play. In some years, at some positions, there's, I know at the wide receiver position, some years I've had maybe 5 guys that fall in that category, and this year I feel like I have 8 guys, just speaking from my position specifically. And, offensive line is one where we feel like, those young guys have done a really good job coming on, and if there are opportunities, we'd love to see those guys get an opportunity to play. But, you have plans as coaches going into games, and then once you get into games, you just kind of have to see how everything goes, how the guys are responding. But, overall, philosophy-wise, we fully support Coach Sweeney's philosophy that everyone that deserves to play, at the right time, is going to get an opportunity to play. And some games dictate how much they get to play and how much they don't. But, and I think also we rep a lot more guys in our practices than maybe most schools. All the way up until last week, we had 3 groups repping all fall camp. And I know a lot of places maybe just rep their first and second group. And I know I can remember being a freshman here. I don't think I got 1 rep the entire fall camp. And now, all the freshmen, they're getting reps on day 1. And so I think that helps. And, once they get a little bit of taste in the game, I think it helps you because they stay more engaged throughout the week and practices and throughout the seasons. And then also it helps you from a depth standpoint because we know guys are going to get injured, and having an opportunity for somebody to step in for them that's already had some game experience is very beneficial.
This is probably more of a home question, but with Wayne kind of taking that step, he's the legitimate #1 guy. Can he get 20 carries, or because of how many running backs you have and how the offense is run, is it he's maybe more 15? How do you see that shaking out?
I think it's going to be game specific. If he starts off early and he's hot, then obviously you want to go with the hot hand. But at the same time, too, you don't want to play a tired back. So it's really going to be dependent upon how the game flows. And then also throughout the course of the week, do those guys behind him, do they earn the right to deserve, a certain amount of carries each game. So it's really going to be game specific. But he's earned the right to be the first guy that runs out there. And if he gets hot, he's going to be the workhorse. But also knowing that if you go out there and you're not taking care of business, you've got 4 guys behind you that are ready and deserving to get those opportunities as well.
What has CJ shown Fuller during camp to earn his spot?
Well, first of all, being a redshirt freshman, just the amount of knowledge that he has about the game. When you get him in there on the board, he can articulate and understands what we're trying to get accomplished. And then he's shown that he sees it well. He's been explosive through the hole, good pad leverage, sticking his face in the fan and pass protection. So everything that I've asked him to do, he's done. And you wouldn't expect him to be as far ahead as he is in pass protection as a redshirt freshman. So that's probably the thing that's impressed me the most. And then, in all situations, he's functioned from short yarders to open field, and even had some situations where he showed when he broke it into the 3rd level that he was able to finish it.
A lot of recruiting experts and fans said when he came out of high school, he'll move to defensive back, or he might play in other positions. But you always know he's just going to be a running back for us.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've known about CJ since he was a youngster. I think Coach Sweeney's known about him his whole life. And I got to meet him when he was a freshman in camp and working with him, and you saw the ability that he has. And, it really just depends about opportunity and the right situation, and this is a good fit for his skill set within this offense. And so, I knew it all along.
When you're facing a team that you're more talented than, how much important is it to do the little things, like getting the right guys on the field, getting lined up, tempo, execution, those kind of things? How much focus is on that right now?
Well, I think the big thing is no matter who you're playing, you have a plan to win. And, and execution is a big part of that. And so really that's what we focus on each week. It doesn't matter, who we're playing that week. We're focusing on ourselves and our execution because, and you can look back at several games, in the past. If you're not executing, it doesn't matter how talented you are on the offensive side of the ball or defense or special teams. And so really we're not approaching the game any different. We're approaching the game just like every game. You only get so many opportunities. You got to make each one of these games count. And but I think the biggest thing for our guys is, to be able to know what they're doing. That's what our job is as coordinators and coaches in that room, is we've got to give them a plan where they know what they're doing, where they can execute, where they can play fast. and then they go do the rest of it on game day. So it really hasn't been any different talk than it was previously getting ready to play Oklahoma in the bowl game.
What are your levels of involvement on special teams?
Yeah, I help with the returners, punt return and kickoff return.
I help a little bit on the kickoff team, but primarily I don't have as much responsibility as I've had in the past.
Coach Elliott, you mentioned CJ Force pass protection. How are Adam Joyce and Tyshon Dye coming along with the pass pro? And is that something that helps separate these guys when it comes time to decide who's going to get in there more?
Of course, because as you plan, you designate guys to be better in certain situations, but throughout the course of the game, you don't know when those situations are going to arise. So a young man has to be prepared to function in all situations. And two things that we take pride in, first and foremost, is 100% ball security. So that's the most important thing. We got to take care of the ball when we touch it. And then 100% QB security. So we got to protect the man standing next to us. And all of them are willing. But really, for like Adam Choice, his biggest thing is he didn't play the position, coming up through high school. So he understands where he's supposed to fit, but the technique is where he has to grow. And the same thing with Tyshon. Tyshon played more of a wing T style of offense, so he was touching the ball all the time. So really for those guys, it's just an understanding of where they're going and then getting comfortable with the technique to be successful. And obviously at Easy, they did a good job with C.J. Fuller of giving him a foundation in both areas.
Anything else?